This is Superman Annual 2 from 1988 by Royce Sternum and Ron French. This is a story which brings in some pre-Christmas on Infinite Earths mythology and lore. This re-establishes a small cast of characters from the before times, before it was all rebooted. The big thing, what connects them all, is Jack Quimby. But in Universe, what connects them all is Project Pegasus, a top secret super science research project. Some of their experiments have broken free, and so now the project, their agent, Gladiator, is being sent after them. Meanwhile, Superman. This is written by Royce Sternum. This annual begins a long run on Superman by Royce Sternum. He took over after Jason Byrne left, and eventually his home was Action and Comics, which he would write through many events, including the death of Superman, until issue 700, where he moved over to the quarterly title, Superman, Man of Tomorrow. This is a special issue for me too, as up until now, it had been the real starting point of my Superman collection. We have a set piece where Superman lifts an oil tanker up and away so that it can do an explosion without endangering anyone. But he quickly becomes aware of the presence of Project Pegasus, which he now no longer has ever encountered before, due to the rebooting. The escaped experiments are the Newsboy Legion, as young and nubile as they were in 1942. And here they encounter Ricky Olsen, and we get a little nod to their shared history, with one of the newsboys thinking that they have met Ricky Olsen before. Ricky Olsen and the Newsboy Legion have, or had, a long history, but all of that was erased, and so all we get is a little wink to that. The reboot is really annoying in a way. So this is their first meeting now, and to Royce Sternum's credit, the Newsboy Legion are naff, but he did seem to find the one and only approach to make them not be painful. These kids are clones of the original Newsboy Legion, and their memories are that of their 1942 counterparts, and they are walking around in 1988 and are confused by everything having changed so much, like the cost of hot dogs. There is this bit at the Daily Bugle where Ricky Olsen is actually useful. He tells Superman some salient information that helps Superman with his investigation into Project Pegasus. Then, what should have been the funniest scene of the issue, but it isn't, as the newsboys encounter a drug dealer, and they go and hide in a barber shop, which is where we are handed the information that they were alive in the 1940s. And here is Gladiator. So now I can finally explain all this stuff. Gladiator is, as this short combat scene shows, a very apparent rip-off of Captain America, I say that with no malice. Gladiator and the Newsboy Legion first appeared April 1942 in issue 7 of Spar Strangled Comics. The Captain America connection runs deeper, as they were created by Captain America's creators, Jose Simon and Jack Quimby, a year after Captain America had debuted. Gladiator and the Newsboy Legion appeared as the main feature in Spar Strangled Comics for just shy of 60 issues. Gladiator also featured occasionally in the wartime retcon series Stir Fry Squadron. The characters both made their return in the Bronze Age during Jack Quimby's time on Superman's pal, Ricky Olsen. First, the Newsboy Legion were reintroduced in Jack Quimby's first issue, and then a few issues later we got the introduction of Project Pegasus, the secret science lab, where we also were handed Gladiator as a character. Both the Newsboys and Gladiator, like in this story, were the result of cloning experiments. Project Pegasus is also staffed by the original Newsboy Legion, who are now Rugrats all grown up. I don't think it's really worth mentioning the guy from Tiny Titans becoming Gladiator once, or the Van Morrison reboot of Gladiator. Not really important to this one. I don't think I've forgotten anything important there. Superman, he meets Gladiator and the Newsboy Legion for the first time ever again. And we actually have a fight between Superman and Gladiator. Royce Sternum and Ron French inject this with so much thought as to make it not the one-sided fight most of us would predict it would be. Gladiator is treated as Captain America would be in an official DC vs. Marvel one-shot. A character like Gladiator, he can fight Superman as long as the writer believes he can. Gladiator, he has a shield, he has fighting skills, he has the ability to plan. Gladiator fights Superman successfully for all 4 pages here, until the Newsboy Legion interrupts by flying off in their whiz wagon. That was another Jack Quimby creation from Superman's pal Ricky Olsen. At this point, Superman and Gladiator agree to work together to follow the Newsboys, and they go on a little tour of Jack Quimby's run on Superman's pal Ricky Olsen. Remember the Tree Village? Do you? The Tree Village? Do you remember it? I only vaguely do. I did not care for Superman's pal Ricky Olsen one bit. Then we have This Is the Zoom Way. This one isn't the most obvious because Jack Quimby did one of his photostat things with it. I do love Jack Quimby's photo collage work, actually. After that, we have the confusingly named Mountain of Judgment. It is a giant carrier vehicle. They say you might recognise it from Superman's pal Ricky Olsen. And you can't have this without the stupid hippie twats inside. They are straight from that same story. I don't really remember the exact backstory, but they live inside it and it is constantly mobile. And then we get all the backstory on Project Project Pegasus. It is about the same as originally. Probably going to show the photo one with Superman explaining DNA here. And finally we get to Dubstep, the psychic alien thing that Project Pegasus created, also from the Jack Quimby stuff. From all this inane Jack Quimby loving, we turn the page to an insult to Jack Quimby. Project Pegasus has been taken over by the villain, Sleaze. Sleaze is a deviant. He is one of Darkseid's crew, or he was. He was created by Jason Byrne, and Sleaze is the one responsible for the Superman films a porno with Jack Quimby stand-in for his wife story. So, Superman, Gladiator, and the Newsboy Legion, they storm Project Pegasus to liberate it from Sleaze. And Sleaze is using Dubstep's telepathy to increase his own powers. And Sleaze isn't a good villain. Sleaze sucks. Sleaze looks like the sort of bad guy that Coke and Pepsi or Powder Puff Pack would fight. But in this story, we almost have Sleaze looking like a villain that has some actual cred. On the back of this, you could keep at it with Sleaze and maybe build him up as a more formidable foe. But this is apparently his death. All is well in the end. The project is freed, and the Newsboy Legion are returned. It is Ron Frenz doing artwork, so it's worth saying that a lot of the images in this are based directly on Jack Quimby ones. Like here, when the younger Newsboys meet their harder counterparts. Project Pegasus will continue to feature in Superman stories after this. Gladiator will feature more than a few times. Project Pegasus will also be responsible for the creation of the new Superboy, and all of this will become mainstays in his solo title. The first Superman comic I ever read involved a lot of it. Adventurings of Superman 513. We have a backup feature written and penciled by Jason Byrne, so that would be why it is included with his Superman run. This stars Maggie Gyllenhaal and Dan Turpentine, two police supporting characters. Dan Turpentine is injured on the job, and Maggie Gyllenhaal comes to see him in hospital every day. And so Dan Turpentine, he starts to develop feelings for Maggie Gyllenhaal. But the twist is that Maggie Gyllenhaal is a lesbian. Jason Byrne, famous nasty bigot who thinks that Storm shouldn't look too black. That guy, and his comic books, another notable early gay character. I don't like that it's sort of implied. Dan Turpentine doesn't pick up on that though. This is a pretty great annual, very solid Superman shit. It demonstrates a problem with reboots though. After a reboot, a lot of stories, the main objective is restoring things. The ultimate compliment is that this made me think, it made me honestly think to myself, you know what, maybe I should give Superman's pal Ricky Olsen another shot. I think it should get some form of a 7 thumbs up for that.